you just Google silver price or whatnot, not necessarily what you're seeing on the streets. In
Yeah.
fact, Shanghai, for instance, 10, 15, $20 higher than those numbers. So you might ask yourself, well, okay, there's got to be an arbitrage. Why aren't people just taking all the silver and selling it to China? And they are, is the answer to that. And China's just fine with that. They are sucking up like a vacuum all the metals they can. They have no issues. They're happy to take it. I'll start by just reiterating what you just said there, which is that these lower levels are still 300% higher than they were 12, 18 months ago. So it's a
Yes.
it's a quite a mindset shift, but it also presents a tremendous opportunity for people who when it moved, a lot of people were busy with life, and all of a sudden they looked up and silver was $50, and then suddenly it was $110. And so luckily it's come down and it's a little more approachable for people. But you're right, trading volume's down a
Hmm.
little bit, which is some of the reasons you mentioned. Obviously, the long weekend, you've got Lunar New Year's, etc. Other things. But one thing I do want to point out that maybe people aren't talking about is the outflows of metals, physical metals here that we're still seeing. So even if trading volume necessarily is down, those outflows are not down. We're seeing right now daily outflows of 3 to 5% out of Comex, meaning that if you were to extrapolate that
Mm.
out, looking at maybe 30 days before Comex literally doesn't have metals that they could give anyone. So when you think about that, the problem that we've been facing for so long is that there is eventually a point where you cannot, oh, that's mine, this has all been accounted for. There is not physical silver that people are willing to part with, particularly not at a price point like $77, $78. So we're coming very quickly to that point where the people have decided, you know what, I mean, myself included, let's say, I have no interest in selling, my silver at $77, $78. Now, granted, the physical, price to actually acquire it is higher right now. Premiums are rising even with the prices dropping down because counterintuitively, people want the silver more now that it's cheaper. And so it's becoming harder and harder to acquire. So there's a little bit that's a little counterintuitive, but the number you see on the screen, on that when you just Google silver price or whatnot, not necessarily what you're seeing on the streets. In
Yeah.
fact, Shanghai, for instance, 10, 15, $20 higher than those numbers. So you might ask yourself, well, okay, there's got to be an arbitrage. Why aren't people just taking all the silver and selling it to China? And they are, is the answer to that. And China's just fine with that. They are sucking up like a vacuum all the metals they can. They have no issues. They're happy to take it. And there are, people, in this country that are naive enough to sell them those metals. So,
Yeah.
China's locked on their silver supply. They're not letting any of that out. But on the flip side, of course,
Yep.
we've got naive people, I would say, that are letting their silver go, and institutions letting their silver go. So again, 3 to 5% is what we're seeing in terms of outflows day over day. So the answer to your question then is it goes as long as until people aren't willing to part with their metals at these prices. So I would say as we get closer and closer, we squeeze down that number. Maybe it's 2 weeks to a month, month and a half. So I would say anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, we see maybe this consolidation at the $75 range before we start seeing it really ramp up again. And then it probably gets pretty volatile again. We start seeing these 5+%
Hmm.
up days in metals, which I want to remind people you don't go into metals thinking you're going to hold it for a week or a day or this or that. This is generally a long term
Yeah.
hold. And the people that obviously have done that have done
Hmm.
very, very well for themselves. Because if you see silver
Hmm.
drop $3 or $4 or $5 in a given day, shouldn't even be something you think about. Completely irrelevant. Because we're talking about moves here
Correct.
going to exceed what we've already seen initially here in the move from $20, $30 to $70. So the intraday stuff really shouldn't concern people. It's what they want to focus on
Hmm.
is what you're purchasing good, today at this price. Is it going to be better in a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? And luckily for anyone that's going to hold, I mean, if you're just holding it for a week, I mean, that's you could flip a coin. It could be up, down, left, or sideways. But if we're talking 6 months from now, then eventually the chickens come home to roost. And so I would just tell people that you've maybe got 4 to 6 weeks before we start seeing the real movement back up. And I know a lot of people might point to the contracts coming due in March, the Comex contracts coming due in March, so that could speed that up considerably. That's a whole other topic we could get into. But assuming none of that
Hmm.
amplifies or accelerates this, I would say we're looking at sometime in March.
The global financial reset is underway and happening now. The battle rages on with competing parallel systems. The current deep state Federal Reserve Central Bank system and the system President Trump and team has developed. While the dawning of the golden age is upon us, we are presently in the danger zone through the reset transition.
Join me and my prominent guests every Wednesday live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on JMC Broadcasting's backup Rumble channel on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Sign up for JMC's free weekly war report, including notifications of when the Global Financial Reset Show is published. The future is bright, and it belongs to us, not to the global elite.
Global Financial Reset. Only from JMC Broadcasting.